should only a Marathi person be the mayor of BMC, where the first data analytics being gauged on the metric of alliances and parties. NDA voters say 66.5% NDA voters believe only a Marathi person be the mayor of Mumbai. Opposition voters feel 57.9% that only a Marathi be the mayor of BMC. Others, 60.8% feel that only a Marathi should be the mayor of BMC. You can look at the contrast there where no is concerned. Let's quickly get into the same question which was asked on a different parameter in terms of the Marathi-speaking population and the Hindi-speaking population. And let's get those figures out. Should only a Marathi person be the mayor of BMC? Marathi-speaking voters, 69.9% believe yes, it only needs to be a Marathi who heads the BMC, while Hindi-speaking, 23.2%. I want to quickly bring in my colleague Sahil Joshi, our senior managing editor as well. All right, we don't have Sahil, but let's bring in Amitabh Tiwari, founder Vote Vibe. Amitabh, do these figures somewhere down the line match what your own data gathering is? Amitabh, can you hear us? All right, we don't have Amitabh Tiwari, but okay, let's go back to Yashwant Deshmukh. Yashwant, what do you make of these numbers? Because very clear, even the NDA voters feel that the mayor of Mumbai needs to be somebody who traces his or her origins as a Marathi.
Well, I think that's what the narrative of the BJP has been as well. I mean, I don't think that all the major parties are on this one, barring the political branding of BJP as by the Thackeray's as the non-Marathi party or North Indian party, if I say so. But I guess that it is not the case. I mean, BJP for all practical purposes in the last 10 years, remember it became the single largest party right in 2015 assembly elections in Maharashtra. And since then, it has remained in terms of votes and seats at the single largest party in Maharashtra. So I don't think that a North Indian tag or a Gujarati tag or a non-Marathi tag actually works on the BJP. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, yes, there is a significant chunk of the Hindi-speaking voters who say, who says so? Why should there be only a Marathi? Why should not this could go to any other language-speaking person? But largely speaking, the Marathi sphere, the Mumbaikar sphere, that agenda is pretty much there, and that's very easy to understand in any of the language, city in that way. Preeti, and let me say this with a pinch of salt, by the way. We have run this question time and again, I mean, in different parts of this India, but I believe that a language or non-state resident issue comes more in the non-Hindi speaking belt than the Hindi speaking belt. In other words, in the Hindi speaking states, we have seen chief ministers who are non-Hindi, but it is impossible to see the other way around.
All right, okay. I think Sahil is raising his hand. One of our, Sahil is a Marathi manus to the core. Sahil, you want to weigh in on the numbers, that have come in at 5 p.m. You yourself did the same show where our political stock exchange and data coming in is concerned. It's interesting if you look at, the figures. NDA voters, 66.5% of them believe that no matter what the demography change has been, but at the helm of affairs of the BMC should be a Marathi.
Preeti, let me also put some figures to these numbers, because this is a recent data and C Voter has done it to show that what the people in Mumbai are thinking about the issue about Marathi and non-Marathi issue. I was hearing Yashwant Deshmukh a while back when he was saying that predominantly this issue comes up in Hindi-dominated areas of Mumbai. Having said that, yes, I am a hardcore Marathi manus, but at the same time, I'm a hardcore journalist. So, let me just put some facts and figures at this point of time. With the 2017 Mumbai Municipal Corporation, the BMC elections happened in 2017. So, there are almost 140 Marathi-dominated seats. I mean, when I say Marathi-dominated, means the people who speak Marathi in these number of seats out of 227, more than 30% are the Marathi speakers. So, that is the Marathi-dominated seats. Out of those 140 seats, in 2017, the last elections which happened for the BMC, the Shiv Sena, the United Shiv Sena, won 79 seats, and the BJP made a significant dent in those areas by winning 44 seats. But look at the numbers where the Marathi dominance is not there. Say for an example, Gujarati dominated 23 seats, 22 seats won by the BJP. North Indian dominated, which comprises of the Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and some sort of Madhya Pradesh population as well. 11 seats out of 227, all 11 seats to the BJP. So the BJP's main numbers come from the seats where the Marathi dominance is less. Now, the mathematics at this point of time is heavily in favor of the BJP and Eknath Shinde, because the BJP's vote share has always remained stagnant. I mean, it is stable. The BJP has retained its vote share. Whereas the Shiv Sena, if by bringing Raj Thackeray together, if Uddhav Thackeray manages to retain those 79 seats, only and only after that, the numbers which are being thrown at us by the C Voters survey will matter. So what it actually means is that the Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray will have to churn together more than 70% of the vote share of the Marathi voters. Only then we can see that they will be able to reach to 80 or 90 seats in 227 Bombay Municipal Corporation. But at the same time, Uddhav Thackeray, specifically after the Lok Sabha elections, the Muslims have also started voting for Shiv Sena UBT. Now, whether after the Congress splitting from Shiv Sena UBT and fighting these elections, contesting these elections on their own, whether the Muslims go back to Congress, or Shiv Sena UBT manages to keep or retain some sort of the Muslim votes, that is going to be the key. So the mathematics at this point of time is in favor of BJP and Eknath Shinde. But if the chemistry of two brothers work on the Marathi voters, then there is a chance that they will be able to cross this.
So it's an outside chance.
Otherwise, that's going to be very difficult.
Shankar Iyer, Sahil very skillfully, split up the wards in terms of the last time 8 years ago when the elections were held, and clearly, the scales tip in favor in terms of the wards then won, by the NDA in favor of Eknath Shinde as well as the BJP. But having said that, this outside chance that Sahil actually speaks of, and we look at our numbers very clearly, if they really do get 70%, which many of us would think is a far shot, plus with what we discussed earlier, the Mamu factor, which is the Muslim and Marathi speaking factor. Do you think there's a chance at all between this arithmetic and chemistry that Sahil is speaking of?
Well, I just wanted to present an anecdote. In the 1970s, Murli Sitaram Devra of the Congress had the backing of Bal Thackeray to become the mayor of Mumbai. And Murli Sitaram Devra's son Milind Devra is now with Eknath Shinde party. So, I mean, whether a Marathi Manus should become the mayor or not, Bal Thackeray has established some precedents there. So we will have to sort of see how this plays out. As Sahil said, the question really is first whether you get the majority in the 220 House of 227, which looks challenging for the brothers just now. What will matter is if they cross at least the 100 number, then they may be able to sort of work around the system to put up their own candidate. Yes, in terms of sentiment, the Marathi Manus in Mumbai feels left out of the economic triangle, feels left out of the political power structure, feels left out, with all these fancy new buildings coming up from South Bombay to Worli to BKC, the middle class is sort of being pushed out of Mumbai. So that will have a bearing on the elections, on the sentiments of the elections.
All right, Amitabh Tiwari is back with us. Amitabh Tiwari, does this data that we are presenting with C Voter and Yashwant Deshmukh at India Today, does it vibe with Vote Vibe, the data that you've put together and analyzed for your own organization?
Well, essentially, if you see, there is largely a perception question of whether the Thackeray brothers coming together will be beneficial for the alliance or not. I mean, in a perception question, largely, even in the opposition voters, we are seeing even half of the opposition voters say that it would be beneficial for them. Now, the question is translation of these votes or this support or this sentiment into votes. Now, Mumbai is a 40-20-40 equation. 40% Marathi Manus, roughly 20% Muslims and 40% non-Marathis. Now, it is a very, very polarized kind of election after yesterday's speech. While there is a chance that the 40% Marathi population could consolidate towards the Thackeray's, there is also an equal and opposite chance that the 40% non-Marathi voter, because of the statements made, could consolidate towards the Mahayuti. So the question is largely about how much of the Marathi Manus vote is the Shiv Sena Shinde faction able to get. Shiv Sena Shinde versus Shiv Sena UBT and Shiv Sena Shinde versus MNS is 85 seats. And this is largely these seats which will decide the future of BMC. Because if you recall, even in 2024 Vidhan Sabha election, 11 seats were fought between UBT and Eknath Shinde faction. 6 were won by UBT and 5 by Eknath Shinde. But there can be an argument that at that point of time, the UBT faction benefited from the Muslim community votes. So how much of the Muslim community votes the Congress is able to retain? That is going to be important, because there is one factor. Who is better positioned to defeat the BJP? One could argue that the Thackeray brothers are better positioned. But who cannot form an alliance with the BJP? There is an equal chance of the Thackeray brothers returning to the NDA at some future point of time. So the community is very, very, you can say, divided on this aspect, and perhaps has not made its cards clear as to who they are.
All right, so you're saying the community is divided